And usually, even a good test that we've done. Yeah, I come down, before, yeah, that's where I,
Oh,
no, going home,
oh, yeah,
it's, yeah, that's the.
yeah.
Yeah. It is a Monday, so I'm not sure how crowded Monday's been over there.
Yeah, and I have the temple. The weather's on. There's
30.
Hi, Tara. Welcome. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Okay, folks, Robbie is in the building. He'll be joining us shortly. So hold tight. Welcome, Ben.
Testing. Okay,
Okay.
great.
Robbie's ready to go.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone here in the Kadampa and everyone at home. This is our second class in the module, Establishing a Daily Practice. Great. Okay, so let's begin with a little bit of meditation. I think most people are becoming familiar with that, even if they're, yeah, I can see people. Okay. So whether we're sitting in a chair or sitting on a cushion, we begin by checking our posture. Our back is a little bit straighter than we normally sit, not rigid, but a little bit extended. Our head is maybe just a couple degrees in front of the vertical, but not tilted to one side or the other. Eyes either lightly closed or just very slightly open so a little bit of light is coming in, but not enough so that we recognize objects. Our mouth is lightly closed also. Our tongue is on the hard palate, the gums above our upper teeth. Our shoulders are relaxed and down and a little bit back so that our chest is open. Our arms are away from our torso. Right hand on left with our thumbs touching slightly below the level of our navel. If we're sitting in a chair, our feet are flat on the floor, and it's fine to have a cushion underneath our feet, if that's helpful. If we're sitting on a cushion, we're not in the back of the cushion, we're on the front third, so that our pelvis is opened up, and our legs are in a position that we find stable. So take a moment and just scan your posture, starting at the top of your head and moving down. Identify any sources of tension or discomfort and address those now so they don't become a constant refrain throughout the meditation. The point of the posture is not to torture yourself or be uncomfortable, but for it to be stable and self-maintaining so that once established, you really don't need to pay attention to it. So the whole point is that you feel rooted in this posture. Energy is towards the pelvis. Okay. And we'll begin by taking 3 deep breaths from the abdomen, with the stomach expanding on the in-breath and contracting on the out-breath, so that our diaphragm is pulled down with each deep, slow breath, and just 3 times for this. And now we allow our breath to return to its normal pattern. And we begin by establishing our motivation, our reason for sitting and doing this meditation, and for engaging in the discussion to follow. And any meditation is good, any motivation is good. If it's just out of curiosity, that's fine. If we just want a few moments of peace and quiet, that's great. But it's said that the most beneficial motivation, both for ourselves and for others, is what's referred to as the bodhicitta motivation. The wish or the aspiration to become enlightened, to develop our mind so that we can be of benefit to all sentient beings, ourself, our friends, family, those people we don't like, and those beings that we don't even know. It's an immense wish. So even if it takes a little bit of effort, see if you can generate the bodhicitta motivation in your mind stream. And having set our motivation, we begin the actual meditation. And we're going to do a simple concentration or stabilizing meditation. We place our mind, our consciousness, our awareness, we're all talking about the same thing, that non-physical aspect of our being. And we're just going to place it on the movement of air in and out through our nostrils. That physical, tactile sensation of the movement of air. So that we place our concentration on that, and we become aware when our concentration is moved to something else and bring it back. So there are really 2 qualities or 2 actions. Concentration on the breath and awareness when the concentration is moved away, which will inevitably happen. We don't fight with ourselves or struggle. We just gently come back over and over and over again. And that's the meditation we'll be doing for the next few minutes. And we can end our meditation with a dedication. Acknowledge that we've done something positive for the past few minutes that has made a positive imprint on our mind stream that was not there previously. And may we think, may that positive energy not be dispersed or lost, but may it ripen in the future in a way that benefits all sentient beings. And you may relax your concentration. Okay, tonight I was going to start or talk about how to set up an altar according to the Buddhist rules. None of these are rules that you have to follow, but the general, and a lot of it is really more traditional than actually spiritual, but it's kind of the way that it's passed down. How many people have an altar set up at home? Yeah, okay. So, okay, and probably they're all completely different. There's room for a lot of individuality, but I'll give you what's kind of the bare bones idea of what constitutes an official Buddhist altar. We talked about it should be in a place that's dedicated to that purpose. If you can find it, a lot of people use a spare room or even a closet or something. It should be a room that's neat, quiet, that other people in your household respect, and has room for the altar and maybe some prostrations if you're so inclined. And you don't need any kind of enormous structure like this. Certainly in your home, you should have a little table or a shelf. Your altar should not be on the floor, but it should be elevated to some degree. And the three first things you would put on your altar, if you want to have an official Buddhist altar, would be objects that represent the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. The Buddha being the enlightened being who lived 2,500 years ago in human form, but represents through his body, his mind, but his body, his speech, and his mind, the state of enlightenment, the perfection of qualities of compassion and wisdom. So to represent the Buddha, the body of a Buddha, we use an image of the historical Buddha, as I described. So a Buddha statue is typically in the center of the altar. It doesn't have to be this big by a long shot. And there are many places to obtain a statue of the Buddha, or it can be a printed image. But that would be the first thing you would have on your altar. It represents the body of an enlightened being. And this is what we aspire to. We're not worshiping what's on the altar. In a way, in the most significant way, it's our future enlightened body, enlightened speech, and enlightened mind. Okay, so that's what we aspire to. So that's the most profound thing that these, what's on the altar represents. So an image of the historical Buddha, the body of an enlightened being. Then on the Buddha's right, and it's a little bit different in this altar because it's so big, we'd have a representation of the Buddha's enlightened speech. So that would just be, for most of us, that would just be a Dharma book that we placed on there. It might be Light on the Path to Enlightenment, and you can take it off and use it, but you'd put some Dharma text there to the right of the Buddha on your left as you look at the altar. So that represents the enlightened speech of the Buddha. And here we actually have the Buddha's enlightened speech in all these texts all around the altar. I don't know if people have seen these, but if you take them out there, woodblock prints that they're, dozens, 100 pages in each one of these wrapped up. And occasionally you'll see a Tibetan teacher here actually take one of those and refer to it. It's all in Tibetan, and they'll flip the pages are loose, and there's no table of contents and no index. No page numbers, no index, and how they know what's in which one, I don't know. I assume there's some sort of organizational system here, but the ones on the right typically would be the Kangur, which is the sutra teachings of the Buddha, the teachings that the Buddha gave that were open teachings, and the ones on the left-hand side would be the Tengur, which is commentaries on the teachings of the Buddha. Okay, so they're in here in some sort of reason, and the Geshis can find them when they need them. There may be a key somewhere, but I'm not privy to it. But for us, we don't need to, where we got, I don't even know where we got those, how we wound up with all those. I mean, it's quite an achievement, and they're all wrapped up in brocade and everything. It's just amazing. But for our home purposes, just a Dharma text to the right of the Buddha. Kangyur, Kangyur, for the sutra teachings of the Buddha, the open teachings that he gave. And then the Tengyur, Tengyur, for commentaries by many different teachings on the sutra teachings of the Buddha. Okay, so it's not the tantric teachings. Okay, this is the all sutra stuff up here. So that would be to the right on your home altar. And again, this is a little bit, okay. Then to the left, okay, here. To the left, you would have what we call a stupa. Okay, and this is a small stupa. There's a big one outside the center. And stupas are a representation of the mind of an enlightened being, enlightened mind. And there are different versions of the stupas. But it's interesting, when we want to represent the mind of an enlightened being, we don't have a model of a brain up here. The brain is not the mind, okay? The mind is non-physical, but a stupa represents it. And there are different types of stupa. So this is a stupa here. That represents the mind of enlightenment. And then we have, let's see, this is another stupa here, a different type. The stupas there are different types of stupas representing different aspects of the mind of enlightenment. But again, that's something you can buy. There are lots of little stupas, just a little one or two great big ones. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. So that's the bare bones Buddhist altar, representations of the body, speech, and mind of enlightenment. And it'd be on a raised platform of some sort. And then above these three, it is acceptable and it's considered beneficial to have another level. And on that level, you can put photographs of your teachers. Okay, if you have one special guru, a photograph of him. If you have a special relationship with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, that's fine. If you have multiple spiritual teachers, they can be placed there. And they're placed above the level of the Buddha because it's said that our spiritual teachers in this lifetime, the ones whom we actually have contact with and who actually transmit the Dharma to us, are more important to us than the historical Buddha even, than the one who gave all these teachings 2,500 years ago. So that's why we would place their images above the image of the Buddha. Am I staying on camera, or am I, okay. I might make it hard on you. I'm sorry, I didn't think about that. And you can place one picture there. You can have multiple pictures there of different teachers. The altar is not really the place to put pictures of your family, friends, your pets, things like that. If you want to have them somewhere in the room, that's great. But The altar's a little more bare bones than that. It's not where you put anything that makes you feel good or gives you a warm feeling. It's strictly for, your spiritual path. So that's what you kind of limit it to those. So that's what you would place on your altar if you want to set up a Buddhist altar at home. And then each morning you would set up your altar. So you would come into your meditation room or meditation closet or meditation nook or whatever it is, and you'd clean the room if it needs to be cleaned. You can vacuum around, and then you'd do 3 prostrations. So let's do 3 prostrations. I'll talk about that for people who don't know that. Let's all stand up. And you don't have to do these in the future if you don't want to, but I just want you to be familiar with the practice. Some people think it's very strange. Why do we do prostrations? Well, first, it's a way of counteracting pride, okay? In this, particularly in Western cultures, we're not real familiar with putting our head on the ground, okay? So it's a good way to kind of shake ourselves up. And it's not, like I say, it's not worshiping the Buddha. It's not making ourselves a slave of the Buddha. It's acknowledging the teachings, the wisdom, the tradition that's embodied in the objects that are on our altar. And it's acknowledging our future enlightened body state, body, speech, and mind. So that's why we do prostrations. It's also good exercise if we do a lot of them. So we typically take our clasped hands and we touch our head, body, then we go to the level of our mouth, speech, and then the level of our heart, which is where the Tibetans say that the mind hangs out, even though it's non-physical. So our mind, body, speech, and mind. And then we lower ourselves to the ground. And we typically here we do half prostrations where we just touch our forehead to the ground. If you want to do full prostrations, you would stretch out completely, forehead on the ground, and raise your hands like that. Those are what's called full prostrations, and you come back up. If you're like a lot of us, you're getting old and doing even half prostrations is tough. It's fine to do them just standing up. But it's good to be familiar with the half and full prostrations. So we do that 3 times, and we accompany this with a mantra, and it goes, Om Namo Manjushriye. Om Namo Sushriye. Om Namo Uttama Shriye Soha. And most mantras, it's pretty much untranslatable. Or if you do a literal translation, it comes across as nonsense. But it's basically, I pay homage to the Buddha, I pay homage to the Dharma, I pay homage to the Sangha. Om Namo Manjushriye, Om Namo Sushriye, Om Namo Uttama Shriye Soha. So be it. So let's see if we can recite that together, just so people are familiar with it. You don't have to include this in your practice. Om Namo Manjushriye. Om Namo Sushriye. Om Namo Uttama Shriye Soha. So that's a little mantra you'll hear people reciting here. And there's a little tune that goes with it. I can't sing, but Om Namo Manjushriye. Om Namo Sushriye. Om Namo Uttama Shriye Soha. You have something, Linda? Yeah. Is it, do you know which page?
Page 26.
Okay,
Okay. Page
Okay.
26 in the gold prayer
Gold
book.
Prayer Book. Mhm. Let's see. Did you? Yeah. Okay. Down at the mantra and praise with prostrations. Yeah. Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Sushriye, Namo Uttama Shriye Soha. Okay. So that's the first thing we'd do in the morning. And then we would set up our altar for the day. And typically we begin by making offerings. And we're making offerings to our teachers of this lifetime, offerings to teachers of previous lifetimes, offerings to our future enlightenment because we feel so grateful. So we want to offer someone something back. So that's a very natural response to make offerings. And the most common offering we use is water offerings because unless we live in a desert environment, water is something we can offer freely without attachment. So that's the main thing, that we offer it truly generously, not with any clinging. Okay, you can also make offerings of flowers. You see a lot of people put flowers on the altar here. Also make offerings of food. You'll see that when we have special pujas or prayer services. But we begin by making offerings. So if we're going to make water offerings, we typically have 7 bowls that we use for that, and they can be made out of anything, and they can be any size. And when you have an empty bowl, you never place it on the altar upright, because that's like someone came to your house for dinner and you put an empty plate in front of them and said, enjoy. Okay. So they're turned upside down at the end of the previous session, and you can stack them if you want to. Here we leave them out like this. So you take your water, you typically have a pitcher that you would use just for this purpose. You wouldn't go down into your kitchen, ideally, and get a pitcher that had just held, a martini pitcher or something like that. But you'd fill the pitcher, tap water is fine. You would clean the bowls. You can wipe them with a cloth to clean them out, or you can hold them over a flame or over a stick of incense, just very quickly to clean them. And you would take some water and fill the first bowl, okay? Fill it pretty full. And then you would take the larger part of that water and pour it into the second bowl, leaving some water in the first bowl so you can set it down upright on the altar, which I don't have here. And you would subsequently pass the water down so that each of the bowls has a significant amount of water in it and is placed on the altar. Then you would go back with your pitcher. Well, next thing you would arrange your bowls. It said they should be 1 grain of rice, either the width or length. And I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if it's supposed to be basmati rice or arborio or whatever. Maybe you should use Carolina long grain here. There's supposed to be 1 grain of rice's space between each bowl. So that would be the upper rims here. So they're quite close. And you would go back with your pitcher and fill up each bowl to 1 grain of rice's distance from the top. So they're quite full. So you're being really generous with your offerings. And you can say a mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, or say Tara mantras or something as you fill up your offering bowls. So that's that. You've set up your altar for the day, and then you can begin your actual meditation session if you're going to do it at that time. If you have to go off to work, you leave it set up, you do your meditation session for the day, and then it's best to take the altar down every night. You don't leave stale offerings out there. So you would go in reverse order and empty your bowls, dry them off, and then leave them upside down so they can air dry, or if they're completely dry, you could stack them again, and then you'd be ready to go tomorrow. Sometimes you leave them up all night to the next morning and take them down and set them back up, but you typically don't leave the same offerings up for 2 days in a row. Let's see, Linda.
So since I happen to be here tonight running AV, I will just say that here at the center, for those of you who do water bowls and help with water bowls, the way Robbie described is a wonderful and perfect way to do it at home and maybe in more traditional settings like monasteries. But because our water gets spilled, we tend to just put a little bit in each bowl, and then we go back and fill the bowl. Not to the point of a grain of rice,
Yes,
but maybe about
you have to
half
be
an hour.
realistic. Yeah.
Yeah. And so instead of doing, I know if you have a home practice filling water bowls, you may do that where you, that Robbie described, where you pour the first bowl full and then transfer a little bit into all the others. But we really try to steer away from that because it ends up spilling, and we don't, especially
Yeah, and if you have a couple of hundred bowls set up and you've got to transfer it down the line,
it's not practical.
you'll be, yeah, exactly. So this is the ideal, okay? What you would do if you are at home and you have lots of time and can be very precise. And like I say, then at the end of the day, you would take it down, and then tomorrow you'd go through the process again. And it's something that you could make part of your daily practice if you're so inclined. Questions or comments? Yeah.
Is there a significance to 7 bowls, the number?
I'm sure there is, and I do not know what it is. Linda, do you have any idea? I'm sure there's.
I don't know that I can do the order, but
Yeah.
the first one I think represents water for drinking.
Yeah, there's 7 offerings that you'll encounter in the Guru Puja and lots of tantric practices.
So water for drinking,
Yeah.
water for washing, and then from there on I can't remember the order, but it's like flowers, perfume, light, incense, food, and maybe music.
It's what you would offer a guest when they came to your home. Yeah. Nyude, Gande, Pradicashoha, it's there are names for each one of them. But the whole idea is that you're treating the enlightened being like a guest, okay? A very valuable guest whom you've invited into your home. You're going to be a gracious host, make them comfortable, give them a nice environment, give them things, and tuck them in at night. Yeah, so think as you have that personal relationship with them. Okay. Any other questions or comments? In terms of,
Is there a specific Buddha statue that you would put on the altar?
24-karat gold encrusted with diamonds. Yeah. There are all sorts of representations of the Buddha, but if you're setting up a Buddhist altar, it's the Buddha. Yeah. Okay. You don't put, some other great teacher there in the center. Yeah. But it doesn't particularly matter as far as I know which image. Yeah. I mean, the traditional one is this one that we refer to as Shakyamuni Buddha, the historical Buddha, sitting in meditation. You can't see it, but his legs are crossed and he's sitting in meditation state. Yeah. Other questions?
Brad has a question
Okay.
here online.
Okay, so in the morning you get up and you set up the altar and you do a meditation and kind of show respect to the altar, but you said in the evening it's just like you're taking it down. You don't do another meditation or prostration.
Oh, you can do as many as you want. Yeah. But if you do more during that day, you don't have to take it down and set it up again. Okay. But you can go back for multiple meditation sessions during the day if you're so inclined and have the luxury of doing so.
Well, I thought you did one before you went to bed.
It's entirely what practice you've set up for yourself. Okay. There's no requirement to do any number of sessions a day. Okay. Some people may have commitments that they've done. Okay. It said it's very beneficial to do a brief session before you go to bed and reflect on the day, but absolutely no requirement. None of this is required. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll see a lot of other stuff up here that you won't have on your altar at home, and a lot of it I cannot explain. But let's see, who do we have? Oh, this is Lama Atisha, who was a great teacher in the around 1400, I think. Yeah, Lama Atisha, this is his statue. He's another historical enlightened being. And then at the highest level, we have His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Yeshe, who founded the FPMT that we're part of, Lama Zopa, who is his successor as the spiritual director of the FPMT. Let's see over here. This is Kala Chakra, which is an aspect of enlightenment, which is a tantric practice that His Holiness the Dalai Lama teaches on a lot. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche recommended that we get this statue, and we had it commissioned in India by some very highly qualified statue makers. And Richard Gere tried to buy it away from them before it was finished, and they said, no, thank you. So it wound up here in North Carolina. We've had that for a number of years. We have the teachings all around. This is Lama Tsongkhapa here, who's really the kind of the founder of, or the great teacher who was really established the lineage that we're part of, and these are his two disciples on each side. And we have lots of pictures of teachers who've been here. We have Chin Rezig, which is an aspect of enlightenment. We have various tankas, and we have all these little Buddha statues around here. So by Tibetan standards, this is a very bare bones altar. Okay, it's very, so by our Western standards, it's pretty elaborate looking. But we're really fortunate to have so many beautiful things. And the point is, it's all to help your mind. It's all to help you train your mind. Okay, nothing, like I say, none of it is to be worshiped. We're not bowing down to it. These are meditation aids. Everything is up here because it can, if we understand it, it can make a positive imprint on our mind stream and help us develop our qualities of compassion and wisdom and speed us on our path to enlightenment. Any questions? Yeah, CJ.
I was just curious because I hadn't heard that before about the our teachers being placed above the Buddha statue on the
Mhm.
altar, and I'm not. I'm kind of confused by that because like if I have His Holiness the Dalai Lama on my altar, for example, it's correct to place him above like a picture of Geshe-la because of the hierarchy.
You don't have to put them in any order, okay? Yeah, you can just have a shelf where you set multiple images of different.
If I was placing them in order,
Yeah.
typically I would think that His Holiness would go above Geshe-la,
Yeah.
or because I know there's kind of a hierarchy there, but
Yeah, they say it's the one who's you have the personal connection with, who is the most important for you. So I don't know. I think that's a decision you would have to make. Yeah. But, you know, you can, I don't know if you're going to wind up with 5, 6, 7, 8 shelves, you know, with different teachers on them. Yeah. But I think the important point is that the teachers of this lifetime, the ones we have the connection with, are the most important to us. Okay. And should be at the highest level. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Let's do another meditation. We're going to, okay, let's do 3 prostrations, and you don't have to do them if you're not comfortable, but for those of us who are used to it, let's do 3 prostrations with the prostrating mantra. Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Sushriye, Namo Uttamaye, Shriye Soha. Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Sushriye, Namo Uttama Shriye Soha. Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Sushriye, Namo Uttama Shriye Soha. Okay. Okay. And Lama Atisha was much earlier than what I said. I think he was like 500 or 600s. I misspoke on that. Yeah. He was very early in this whole process. Later than the Buddha, but not as late as I said.
So I have one question.
Yes.
So when you're doing the prostrations and your hand movements, I
Mhm.
noticed that you, after you're done bowing for the last time,
Mhm.
that then you rise and you do
Finish
the
it.
hand.
Finish it. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah. And
just
you do the third one and then you finish up here. Yeah.
uh, you.
Yeah.
So wait, you do 3
Yeah.
bow, and then you come up from your bow.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You here, here, here,
Just here typically, but
just here. Okay. Okay.
either way would be fine.
I notice people doing it different
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. A
So,
lot of it is tradition, not necessarily spiritual. Okay. It's just the way you've been taught. Yeah,
okay.
there's no wrong way of doing any of this, okay? And
I
it's
thought
all
I
like I said, what you find beneficial for your practice and for your mind.
okay.
And if
you.
doing prostrations puts you in a bad mood, then I wouldn't do them, okay? Okay. So let's imagine that we're making offerings. We can visualize. When we're visualizing, when we're not physically doing the offerings, we have a lot more freedom, so we can visualize that we're making limitless offerings to all the enlightened beings, every enlightened being that exists through time and space, because there are many more than just the historical Buddha. So we're making offerings to all the enlightened beings to thank them for their teachings, to thank them for providing us with as examples. And we're also making offerings to our future enlightenment, to what we aspire to, and which we know is a possibility for each of us. So we can offer whatever is wonderful and beautiful in this world. And that's what we talk about when we're talking about a mandala. You know, it's an ideal environment, and we offer that to the enlightened beings. This is a practice of generosity, just visualizing it starts to develop the habit of generosity in our mind stream. And all of this is just developing habits, new ways of thinking, not clinging and selfishness and possessiveness, but generosity and giving. So we visualize that, and that's just imagining. And having made offerings, we set our motivation, generating the bodhicitta motivation, as previously described, the wish to become enlightened, to develop the enlightened body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being, not just for our own happiness, but for the benefit of all sentient beings. And having established our motivation, we'll now begin with a couple minutes of stabilization meditation, concentration on the breath. And keeping our mind in this concentrated, stabilized place, we'll begin our meditation. And this time we're going to do a visualization meditation. And when you talk about visualization, we're just talking about seeing with our mind's eye. It's really just imagining it. And we're going to imagine that we are sitting in front of the historical Buddha. He's in the form that he has in the statue on the altar here at Kadampa Center. And it's fine to open your eyes and look at that statue if you need to. But it's not just a statue. It's a living, breathing, three-dimensional, real being. He's in human form. He's sitting in meditative pose with an infinitely kind expression on his face, looking at us. Three-dimensional. We can walk around him. He's life-size, sitting on a cushion in space at the level of our eyes, about a body's length in front of us. And there's almost a glow about him. So establish the visualization as detailed as you can make it, but don't get hung up on any particular aspect. And keep your concentration on that image. And when it's wandered off, come back to the image. And now we add to the visualization a beam of brilliant white light flowing from the heart of the Buddha in front of us through space into our heart. And this beam of brilliant white light represents all the qualities of enlightenment: perfect compassion, perfect wisdom. And each time we breathe in, that white light fills our entire body, filling us with all the qualities of an enlightened being. So again, we just place our concentration on that. The Buddha in front of us, white light flowing, filling our body on each in-breath. And now the image of the Buddha fades, dissolves. We feel almost blissful. And we do a brief dedication. And you may relax your concentration. So that was really another type of concentration or stabilization meditation. We move from using the breath as the object of concentration to the image of the Buddha as the object of concentration. And the meditation is about staying on that, stabilizing ourselves with that. So that's what visualization can be. Then sometimes it's combined with analytic meditation, and we'll talk more about that week, or sometimes it's combined with mantra, which is another type of stabilization, or the visualizations can be quite elaborate. You have all your bells and whistles going at the same time, and you're juggling balls and standing on your head on these really elaborate meditations. So next week, we'll talk about the prayers that we use, and we'll talk about some of the other different types of meditation that we may include in our daily practice, and maybe get into, how do I decide what meditations to do? There's gazillion different meditations, and I've got 10 minutes to meditate each day. Which ones do I pick? Okay, so that's it for tonight. Thank you for coming. Thank you everyone online, and thank you Lisa and Linda for working things. See you all next week. Same
Thank
time,
you.
same place.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Robbie.
Good night.
Night, Linda. Night, Brad.
No,
Bye, Tara. Rainey. Hi. You snuck in there. Hi. Good night.
What is this?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
She make a
This is
video part of it.
Yeah.